And if you must speak of her, then do not be ashamed to stammer of her. Then speak and stammer. Quote, here's you speaking and stammering about your virtue, which is a great virtue and it's hard to name. So you say, this is my good. This I love. It pleases me wholly. Thus alone do I want the good. I do not want it as divine law. I do not want it as human statute and need. It shall not be a signpost for me to over earths and paradises, other worlds. It is an earthly virtue that I love. There is little prudence in it, and least of all the reason of all men. So you're going to say it's not a prudent virtue? Fine, plead guilty. And you say that not all men will find it reasonable? I plead guilty again. Fine. No, the reason of all men is not present in my virtue. But this bird built its nest with me, therefore I love and caress it. And now it dwells with me, this bird, this virtue. And now it dwells with me, sitting on its golden eggs. End quote. That's you're finished. Thus you shall stammer and praise your virtue. Stammer. You're not sure exactly how to describe it, but at least you don't know it with such familiarity that you have a name for it. He says that's despicable. Once you suffered passions and called them evil. Back to Zarathustra's speech. Once you suffered passions and called them evil, but now you have only your virtues left. You've driven all your passions away. They grew out of your passions. You condemned your highest goal to the heart of these passions. Then they become your virtues and passions you enjoyed. And whether you came from the tribe of the choleric, or of the voluptuous, or of the fanatic, or of the vengeful, in the end all your passions became virtues, and all your devils, angels. Once you had wild dogs in your cellar, but in the end they turned into birds and lovely singers. Out of your poisons you brewed your balsam. You milked your cow, melancholy. Now you drink the sweet milk of her udder. I think Nietzsche didn't rewrite this, or else very large parts of it were unwritten, and I think he wrote this just in a couple or a few weeks, if I remember correctly. So some things like that, he must have had something on his mind while he was going along. And nothing evil grows out of you henceforth, unless it be the evil that grows out of the fight among your virtues. My brother, if you are fortunate, you have... Let's pause for a second there. Imagine an objectivist saying, I became evil because my virtues were fighting amongst themselves. I had one virtue of reason, and another virtue of honesty, and another virtue of integrity, and another virtue of far-sightedness, and another virtue of productivity, and they were clashing, so I started robbing people. A conflict among your virtues. Let's see. My brother, if you are fortunate, you have only one virtue and no more. Then you will pass over the bridge more easily. It is a distinction to have many virtues, but a hard lot. And many have gone into the desert and taken their lives because they had wearied of being the battle and battlefield of virtues. So if you are a battlefield of virtues and virtues are fighting inside you, so it's best to just have one virtue. It's bizarre. I mean, what the hell does it mean by virtue? I have an understanding of virtue that comes from objectivism, so it's a strange idea to me. My brother, are war and battle evil? But this evil is necessary. Necessary are the envy and mistrust and calumny among your virtues. So you're not going to get away from war and battle in real life any more than you're going to get away from war and battle among your virtues. Now, here is a key bit of understanding for Nietzsche's existentialism, I suppose. The idea of existentialism is that you're always battling to create yourself. It's always a choice you have to make. And you are not, there is no you. There is only what you are becoming. You can only become. There's only you in the future, because every single instant is a choice. Wearisomeness bizarre ideas. But anyways, there's where Nietzsche speaks to that. Each virtue is jealous of the other. We skip just a bit. Behold how each of your virtues covets what is highest. Each wants your whole spirit, that it might become her herald. Each wants your whole strength in wrath, hatred, and love. Each virtue is jealous of the others, and jealousy is a terrible thing. Virtues, too, can perish of jealousy. Surrounded by the flame of jealousy, one will, in the end, like the scorpion, turn one's poisonous sting against oneself. Alas, my brother, have you never yet seen a virtue deny and stab herself? And I would need an example of that, I think. Just a couple examples I would need. Man is something that must be overcome, and therefore you shall love your virtues, for you will perish of them. Now, I suppose if we interpret virtues as not virtuous, if we're talking really about vices here, then he might be correct. Your vices do fight amongst themselves. You have one vice of doing heroin every day, and you have another vice of robbing people to pay for heroin. So which one do I want to do today? If I go out and do some robberies, then I'll have more money for heroin. But if I just sit here and do the heroin I have, what the hell, I'll just do this heroin, then when they're desperate they go out and rob more, and you've got to have your virtues of fighting and destroying you. That's the only thing I could see, is that if you call them virtues that are actually vices. I can't understand it otherwise. You couldn't understand productivity fighting against honesty, reason, and integrity inside of your person. Honesty doesn't want to battle above the virtue of productivity or the virtue of integrity. You want to be more honest than you want to have integrity, and I mean, it doesn't make any sense unless he's saying to these people in a patronizing way, la la la, your virtues, your virtues, your virtues, and actually he's meaning your vices. You will perish of your vices. Let's take that for one single bit here. So if your virtue, vice, I'm going to do it in the modern world, is concretization. If your virtue slash vice is multiculturalism, putting up with other people no matter what their belief is. If their belief is cannibalism and cutting out the spine of little boys and cutting off their head and arms and legs and sacrificing them for their voodoo religion, as happened in London, the body was found in the Thames River. If that's your belief, that's your belief, and I'm not going to judge it. Because how could I judge it? Because everything's relative. Now, you believe it to be your virtue, to not judge, right? But it's actually a vice, and you will perish of your vices, and witness Britain going down in an extraordinary, violent way right now, with rising violence. Just watched some stuff by Theodore Dalrymple, D-A-L-R-Y-M. I've just put a bunch of his stuff in my favorites, and he says he worked at a hospital in London, and he says we didn't have any gunshot wounds when I first started working there, and then over time we became experts at gunshot wounds. Now, they confiscated all handguns and rifles and shotguns and stuff, and they made it illegal in Britain. I'm sure that there's some piddling subsection of some law that allows some people under some circumstances to still own some guns, but the point is, it's a disarmed society. Not just any old cash register clerk can go and buy a gun to defend himself. So robberies are going up and have gone up, and the Muslims are out of control, and they won't prosecute the Muslims because they're from poor neighborhoods, and it's not their fault that they're poor, but that's the reason they're committing crime. So you can't punish them for something that's not their fault, so they don't punish them, and they let them back out, and then the kids learn they can do it again. And Britain is going down, perishing of its virtues, as the Zarathustra has very eloquently warned them, if by virtue he means what is actually objectively a vice. Okay, on the pale criminal. Pale means he's never out in the sun, or what? You do not want to kill, O judges and sacrificers, until the animal has nodded, until you have ascension. Behold, the pale criminal has nodded. Out of his eyes speaks the great contempt. Quote, I suppose from the pale criminal, my ego is something that shall be overcome. My ego is to me the great contempt of man. That is